Paul Ryan seems to be falling into a mainstream media trap there where he repeats what the mainstream media has said, and that is the president, no one is above the law. But what the president is doing here regarding the pardon power in the United States Constitution under Article 2 is simply stating a constitutional fact, is he not?
Absolutely, yes. The president has the pardon power under Article 2 of the Constitution. It's one of the major powers given to the president. And President Trump has wisely exercised the pardon power in a number of high-profile cases recently to pardon people who were wrongly convicted, including Dinesh D'Souza, who was the victim of a highly partisan prosecution by former President Obama's Justice Department. And I just hope that President Trump goes on and pardons General David Petraeus, who was also a victim of a highly partisan prosecution. So, yes, I approve of what the president's doing. It's entirely within his power.
And just yes or no, just to be clear, the president theoretically could pardon himself, correct?
Yes, he could theoretically pardon himself. He could also do what President George H.W. Bush did shortly before Christmas Eve in 1992 as he was on his way out of office. And that is, he pardoned a series of people in the Iran-Contra investigation, including cabinet secretaries, all of whom were indicted so that they would flip and testify against Bush. He pardoned all those officials. That ended the Iran-Contra investigation.
All right, so let's go to presidential tweet number 2, and that goes to whether the appointment of Robert Mueller is constitutional or not. And this goes to the appointments clause of the United States Constitution, and then goes to what are called either principal or inferior officers on this appointments clause of the United States Constitution. The president essentially nominates a candidate, and then it's either confirmed or not by the United States Senate. So the question is Robert Mueller a principal or an inferior officer? The theory is if he is a principal officer, then his appointment is a violation of the United States Constitution because it has usurped the power of Article 1, the Congress, the United States Senate in this case, and Article 2, the nomination process of the President of the United States. You wrote an extensive piece on this, and your conclusion is it is unconstitutional, the appointment of Robert Mueller.
Yes, I think Robert Mueller's appointment is unconstitutional because Mueller is a principal officer who needs to be nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. And it's important here to look at the background of other offices in the Justice Department to see why Mueller is a principal officer. The Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, 10 Assistant Attorney Generals, and all 93 permanent U.S. attorneys are principal officers who have to be nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Mueller is exercising more power than the assistant attorney generals or than any U.S. attorney, and so he is by definition a principal officer. I could add to that Mueller has already spent over $17 million on his probe of President Trump and Russian collusion. The entire criminal division of the Justice Department has a budget of $220 million a year. So Mueller is spending almost 10% of the entire budget of the criminal division of the U.S. Department of Justice going after Trump. That contributes to my saying that Mueller is clearly an inferior officer appointed in violation of the Appointments Clause.
And so you're judging this based on his actions and how Mueller is operating. And he seems to be operating as a principal officer, and he seems to have deputies who are acting as assistant U.S. attorneys. In fact, in court recently, a judge said they were, or it was revealed, that they are acting as assistant deputy district or U.S. attorneys. But there's also a case on the books several decades ago that goes to the constitutionality itself of a special counsel. And this is Morrison versus Olson. And there is a certain litmus test that is now applied because of this ruling, even though the statute's gone. There are some limitations on what the special counsel can do, and among them are the scope of what the special counsel should be investigating. Another is it based on a statute or not? Does it usurp too much power, whatever that is, from the president himself? And is there a deadline? Is there a goal here? And it seems as though the answers to all those questions are in the negative in sense of constitutionality of Robert Mueller. To begin with, his scope seems to be unlimited.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.